Hi everyone, I'm Sunisha Munsami from the Technology Innovation Agency. I'm currently heading up the Enterprise Development Unit, the Innovation Skills, as well as the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program in South Africa. The Technology Innovation Agency is a government funding agency under the Department of Science and Innovation. We primarily fund technology development, and by that I mean anything that's from a proof of concept or minimum viable product right through to commercialization. So we really focus on working with higher education institutes. We work with science councils. We work with public-private institutes. And we also work with SMMEs, very, very focused on how do we take a product to the market for commercialization. Okay, perfect. So currently we have a number of financial and non-financial support instruments, and very, very focused on grants. So a lot of the seed funding, rapid response funding, as well as the technology development funding has grants attached to it. We do, in the interest of where your product has reached the market and it's commercialized successfully, and you're starting to make a return on investment, we then could look at a very small percentage going towards a royalty. So we do not take equity in your business, in other words. It's all about how do we come on board as a government funding agency to support young, and obviously focusing on different equity spectrums of South Africa. How do we support them through state-of-the-art equipment at our technology stations, or even supporting them at our platforms? So very much focused on the biotech sectors as well. And by biotech, I mean agriculture, industrial biotech, health solutions, as well as indigenous knowledge systems. So all of your latest looking at indigenous plants and looking at other indigenous systems, we definitely would support you going forward. We have a number of partners that we've now linked ourselves. So as government, previously a lot of government partners were fragmented, and we've recently come together to say the likes of the DTIC, the IDC, and all of the other partners, how do we collaborate and work together so that we would best help the SMME to get their product to the market. And that includes export and obviously looking at not only the South African reach, but the continental reach and ultimately the global reach. So we're very, very much focused on, in our new mandate, focusing on internationalization. How do we scale up and look for market access within other economies of the globe? So very importantly, if you just look at, for example, through the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program, we have a network of partners, like I said, not only locally but globally. And with that, we have recently been appointed as the implementing partner for a program that will look at scale up into other parts of the world. So definitely through a structured mentorship program, we help you with our alumni meaning other people that have gone through similar like programs. We will definitely get you a subject matter expert on board. We will also get you a business mentor, and then we would assist you for further development and, like I said, scale up opportunities globally. So that's exactly what the programs intend to do. All of these accelerator programs that we talk about, we go through a vigorous process. So there's a process of, you have over 100 or 200 applicants. They then get selected and shortlisted. They then go through a full 12-month program with us. And that program entails webinar sessions, training, showcasing, investor connect kind of workshops, mentorship that comes on board. And once they're selected, they then can go further into going on the global program. So you're right, when we select you into the program, it's fully funded by the Technology Innovation Agency and its partners. So I think that's very important that you ask that question. There isn't anything as a comeback to the entrepreneur or SMME. It's rather how can we assist you? And if we can't assist you, so we fund the technology development part. And if you need to scale up and you need to commercialize, and you need then funding from the DTI, other funds, or the IDC, we will then connect you to the right other government partner. And recently, we're really looking at a strong link with industry partners that will come on board using their BE scorecard, looking at the ESD points or the CSI points and how they could support some of these SMMEs that have a product that they could be their potential next supplier development, supplier in their value chain. So it's very important to link the young SMME with the corporate if they can become a new supplier for them. And that will be obviously part funded by the industry partner. Yeah, we really did find that that's the challenge, especially obviously in your more rural communities and areas where it isn't really linked to, the primary main universities. So a lot of which has been centered around technology transfer offices in universities. And those technology transfer offices are your primary source of research and innovation for commercialization. But what our focus is really focusing on your grassroots innovators to be more inclusive in the sense that you can have an SMME or an innovator sitting in a community, coming up with a solution around energy, for example, or around water challenges that they have. Then we would fund them through our grassroots innovation program. So that we actually have different funding instruments to fund different people. So we have, for example, a grassroots innovation program fund to fund your innovator in a rural community. Then we have a seed fund which funds your higher education institutes and guys coming out of the higher education institutes. And then we have a technology development funding that funds obviously the more large scale, bigger innovations. But all of them, Simon, I think if you really look at it, they all have to have a huge social or inclusive impact in terms of what the innovation is about. Yeah. The Global Clean Tech Innovation Program is really a program that looks at developing an enabling environment for clean tech innovation and entrepreneurship. And by that we mean it really cuts across multi-sectorial, multi-tiered approaches, really with the view of building a sustainable ecosystem for innovation and SMMEs. So what do we really mean by that? We really mean an ecosystem for SMMEs that will fund and institutionalize capacity development within government agencies like ourselves. So it never works in a vacuum. And the nice thing about the program is UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, was the first founder of the program together with South Africa, and they rolled out the program literally in 2011. So we were the key partners, South Africa was, and when we rolled out the program, they literally funded it for the first few years. So it was donor funded by UNIDO and the JEF Fund, which is the Global Environmental Facility Fund, funded it. And then in 2018, TIA came and took over the program to implement it locally in South Africa. So currently TIA now funds the program, which I think is a very clear message that if an international partner comes on board and funds a program, they then walk away and look for the sustainability within a country to forward fund it. So that's what we have done since 2018. So we fund the program. The program really focuses, like I said, on an accelerator-based competition program. It entails a call-out, which will happen in September of this year. From that call-out, we then do a selection. There's an opportunity for the candidates to come in a 12-month program, which includes webinar sessions with global mentors, local mentors. Like I said, there's business mentors, and very, very much aligned to subject matter experts. We also try and bring in the alumni of the previous cohorts so they could mentor their fellow peers. And I think that works tremendously because then they young people mentoring young people and they understand what their needs are more well than looking outside of the country. So I think that always works for us. So they then get to showcase the innovations. They then get to pitch in front of a judging panel. They do a lot of mock judging amongst each other. We bring in industry experts to judge them. And then from the mock judging, we have a clear, really good gala dinner. Last year we had a hybrid. We had an online one with a face-to-face. And we really identify the winners. And there's different categories, focusing on social impact, focusing on youth, focusing on women, and then focusing on the winners. So I'm very proud to say that the last, once we select the winners, they then get to go to either Silicon Valley or in 2 years ago, the last one that was done before COVID, it was actually held in Vienna at the United Nations headquarters for a week long of clean tech activities. So we're very proud to say amongst 8 countries, South Africa participated, and we took 3 out of the 5 awards, which is very, very interesting. So the Global Forum winner INSECO was the company's name, with Simon. He was the youngest Global Forum winner ever in the history of the program. So it was quite interesting. And then we had a young female entrepreneur, Nozi. She also came out top of the female agenda. So it just shows that as South Africans, we really can lead the way. And with that being said, this program now, because of the history of South Africa, we've recently been given the follow-on program, which is called Global Clean Tech Innovation Program, focusing on the next phase, which is 2.0, which is called the 2.0. And that basically looks at the post-support and focusing on capacitating the ecosystem. So meaning, like I said to you, in rural communities, the hubs, how do we bring on board more rural accelerators that will assist candidates that will know about the program to come into the program? I think very, very important is the categories and the target markets that we're looking at for the program. So key to it is it's linked to climate change and also focusing on renewable energy solutions, focusing on water technology solutions, waste beneficiation or any waste opportunities. Waste obviously focus very much in terms of the circular economy. Strong focus on climate change in agriculture. Also looking at a focus on energy efficiencies linked to solar. We also have a strong focus on the transport sector, anything to do with any form of renewable energy linked to transport. And then lastly, focusing on improved building design. So as you can see, anything we look at in the clean tech sector is basically focusing on clean, efficient technologies that young people or youth or SMMEs can come up with for impact not only in South Africa, but on the continent and globally. So the program really has extended itself from 8 partner countries, and it's looking at bringing on board about 20 countries currently. Yes, so in fact, our previous winners, like I said, out of the program, we had, not only the youngest person, but we had the oldest person. I mean, the guy that came, the third winner was actually, I think he was almost 80. And he came up with a sugarcane, he literally came up with a waste beneficiation of sugarcane to develop energy. So he was one of the winners, and he was literally 80, and he was so dynamic. So we do not, in this particular program, there isn't any age category. It really focuses on, let's focus more on bringing more women on board, more youth on board, but that doesn't mean we're excluding anybody out of the program now. So if your innovation is very good, we would take you into the program, definitely. You could be obviously a small SMME, so as long as you have a registered company and you have a business up and running, we will take you into the program. But really be looking at, like we said, early stage, but more focused on how can we grow you quickly towards commercialization. So for example, this particular program, like I said, all of them, if you come into the program, you must have a proof of concept, meaning you've got something that you can show will work. So for example, INSECO is a insect protein company, and they really focus on taking the black soldier fly and converts organic waste, so literally taking organic waste, mixing it with the larva of the black soldier fly to come up with digestible protein feed for animals or for fish. So they've really been doing an amazing job. I'm sure you've heard of, so it's basically taking organic waste, mixing with the black soldier larva fly to create a protein feed for fish or for animals. That's been one of the bigger projects. The young team have now literally created more than 35 jobs. They have received international and local funding to get themselves going further. And we're hoping that through the GSIP 2.0, they've created almost like a containerized pod version of what they do. So where you have companies, obviously and corporates that have a lot of organic waste or food waste, they can then have this pod that's set up so instead of wasting it, they can create the actual protein feed, which is quite interesting what they're doing to diversify what they're doing. Another one I think that they've done really successfully was the hotspot, which was literally a geyser sleeve that puts onto your geyser. The reason why I like to speak about it, it was a female young entrepreneur at the time. She also came into the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program. She received IDC funding, she received a grant, And obviously, her first IDC her first IDC engagement was a loan. So she received a loan of just under 7 million rand. She set up a factory in the Eastern Cape, employing just under about 15 females in the program. And it's amazing how she's grown, and she's looking to obviously scale it up into other parts of Gauteng maybe. And then of recent, because of COVID, the IDC then gave her a further grant for her to set up a textile part of the business, which where they were creating then masks and disposable bags. So it's really using waste to create disposable shopping bags and stuff, and the masks. So she's quite a nice success story, and her innovation was originally called the Hotspot, and I can also share with you a nice video that was produced. So she did receive a few really good awards and funds, but it's really nice one to look at because she has commercialized. The factory is up and going. We were there, we've seen it in action. So it's quite an amazing thing that they've done. And that was really one of those looking for a solution in South Africa for Africans that really need it, you know? So it's one of those that wasn't inbound technology, but it was a local technology developed by her in the community. So a proof of concept, basically in technology terms, it means it's at it's out of the research environment, meaning that you've developed a concept, but you have the smaller version of the prototype to show it works. So that is referred to as a technology readiness level 3. So some people are just before that, and we try to see if we can help them with the pre-seed fund to bridge that gap. So a lot of times you would hear, Simon, that there are people sitting in universities doing research upon research, but they never ever get to the development stages. And all we're looking for is that show us something that proves it works, not fully, because we will then fund that development. But at least you have a proof of concept. Other people refer to it as a minimum viable product. And if you don't, like I said, we do have technology stations that then would assess where you are so we could assist you further. So ideally what happens in the technology transfer offices or at the university level, that's where they're at. So you'll find that obviously in your communities that it's 10 times more difficult for them because they don't have that assistance. Hence the reason why I said we've created these technology stations that could then assist you to come up with the design. So let's say they're in your stage. They just have an idea, and I think this is going to work. We will then assist them to take what they have, put it down into CAD, get the drawings right, and look at that first prototype that could come out and create that first batch of a sample for them. So we've done that with a number of innovators that have come up with some really good innovations that obviously could see the day in light. But obviously you're right, they were nowhere near getting to a proof of concept. I think for me that's a key question, because transformation for us was always about how do we transform the innovation ecosystem, the national system of innovation. And you spot on, because if I look at young people in terms of their thinking and where they're at, they expect us to be, as government, firstly, a lot more flexible and agile. Their needs and their wants are very different, especially during COVID. We've seen their needs aren't similar to the older people that have access to connectivity, they have access to funds, and they're okay with where they are with the innovation. The challenges and their needs are real, in terms of, like I said, just the basic needs. And if we could take care of their basic needs and give them a stipend towards, the transport, food, connectivity, it really, we found that helps them to sustain them going forward. The key thing for me was a lot of the young people learned very well from the mentors that are older. The mentorship and give back from the older people in the innovation space has always been huge and tremendous. So we really welcome that. I mean, some of the mentors in the programs for this particular program are there for many years, and they've added huge value and input and insight for these guys to go forward. So I think you can really take your hat off to some of the older folk that give their time, without any effort. They're always with us, they make time, and they do not get paid for it, most of them. I think a nice thing for me is we recently are partnering with the South African Mentorship Platform that has a number of mentors across from CEOs and COOs that are on the platform, all giving up their time, volunteering to help South Africa grow the SMME market. So I think that's key for us, and I'm looking forward to that. And then we really looked at how can we instill this, using technology to aid the matchmaking of young SMMEs with, like you said, the corporates or other government partners. So we've done that successfully, and we're hoping to continue doing what we're doing, so that it will just strengthen the ecosystem, and we don't have to recreate what we've already created in the past year, especially with everything being online. So we're doing that on a AirMeet platform, which is quite interesting because of the lockdown, and you have more access to other people. More people we found have just come on board, to support, come online and just help the young SMMEs. So I do find it quite dynamic. I also found a lot of value added in bringing on board the alumni of previous programs to support our young innovators and entrepreneurs. And also in terms of training and just the know-how, they do learn from each other. So the peer-to-peer training, and if everybody can just mentor one other person, it just really helps to grow the SMME. Yes, that's very, very true. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, in the innovation space, obviously, you can imagine it's been even more challenging. Exactly what you were just speaking about, we had so many people apply. You have like 200-300 people applying for these programs, but they nowhere near minimum viable product or proof of concept. And you're so right, they don't even understand it. So what we're looking to do is not only work with the ones that come into the programs, but how can we support the ones that really have good innovative ideas, but how can we help them to get them to the next level so they could become possible candidates for these programs going forward. Yeah, and we found that's the majority of applicants. So previously we always just focused on the winners. Now we're looking at, if you didn't make it, how could we then give you a program in, for example, critical thinking skills or entrepreneurship training to support you, and then obviously to focus on, maybe you're not really the innovator, but you could become part of a team and an SMME that would need someone like you. So really looking at how do you build strong teams, and that would create strong SMMEs, because we found that the innovator is not always the entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur, yeah. So we found that we were taking innovators and putting them on entrepreneurship programs, and that wasn't the thing. And you can imagine just for them to go through, for example, being live, trying to pitch to an investor or pitch to a group of government officials, and they're like, that's not what I'm about. I'm coming up with the product, I'm focused on my tech guys, let someone else do that job. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So if you look at most thriving innovation ecosystems or developing countries, they really do look for putting people together in teams. And our challenge has been people working together. There's the lack of trust and the lack of how do you build strong teams. And I think for us, it's always been about, if we increase the level of critical thinking and if we increase the understanding around why we need to come together as teams and form a business, it would really enhance the ability for people, young people, to understand why we need to work together, set up a company. And it's okay that we all have different roles, because you're right, the innovator, the entrepreneur, the marketing person, and the financial person are 4 different people in that business. I think, no, for me, from the young innovators, I've seen them really coming together. And for me, the key thing has been literally over the past, I'm talking about 9 years, what I have seen in the innovation ecosystem space is they never knew, because they were not put together, let us see what your business could do to help my business, or how your innovation could add to my business. And of recent, we've really seen that in order for them to build a strong ecosystem amongst themselves, they need to talk to each other and understand what each other is doing. Previously, they were so focused on, I have to do this pitch, or I'm focusing on my own innovation, and I want to keep what I have to myself. I think the important thing is they didn't want to share the knowledge or share anything about their IP or their innovation, because they felt that the next innovator could just go and replicate or copy that thing. Now they've learned that by actually coming together and forming stronger teams, they then can access greater funding, but also their solution will be so much more impactful. So if I can just maybe mention one program that we did like that, and we found it was quite amazing because we said to them, you should actually try and pair up with each other for us to partner with you with the UK partner. So one of the programs is called the Scale Up for Impact program with Innovate UK, funded by the UK Newton Fund and obviously the Department of Science and Innovation in TIA. What we did is we looked at 5 startups out of the UK. So we started off the program with 25 startups in the UK and 25 startups in South Africa to look at how could we co-create new businesses for scale up in a community. So that was a very important thing. So obviously you found that the UK companies, SMMEs, were far more advanced in terms of their technology was in the market, they're up and running, versus our SMMEs in South Africa. We brought them all into a room and we said, now you're going to have to find your match and how could we co-create new startups. So we were only going to fund 5. So South Africa was funding 5 and the UK was funding 5, but you had to come together. So you can imagine doing all of this online. It was so difficult. Finally, it was broken up into thematic areas firstly to make it easier, focusing on, for example, the digital space, focusing on the healthcare sector, and focusing on the circular economy. They got into those groups, and then they realized that they needed to find a UK partner to match them with. And by just meeting with the South Africans by themselves, and we opened up the idea of, but guys, 3 of you are working on similar like waste beneficiation projects, come together and partner with the UK partner. So we've done that. We've done it successfully in waste and we've done it successfully in water technologies. So it was quite interesting to see that them coming out of previous programs and working together, they finally found the synergy to let's work together for the greater good of rolling out the technology. Yes, so obviously within TIA we have our patent attorney. So we do assist with that. And then, obviously we have NIPMO. And then of recent, we recently hosted a workshop with the European Patent Office and NIPMO and TIA to look at how we could strengthen and assist with the registrations and also assist with training so people understand when is it a trademark, when is it a patent, and what to do when. And I think that's very important. So there really is assistance from our side on that. And like I said, we are working with NIPMO as well on the IP issues. Okay, no, I think just to mention, last year the winners out of the program was Iraka Biotech, and they came up with a clean vaccine production for chickens. So their innovation, they've received funding from one of the government departments, and we're looking forward to their innovation reaching the market very soon. So it's actually quite interesting, focusing on such a need, because you don't know how many people really eat chicken. So that kind of vaccine solution would be easily scalable, both locally and globally. And then obviously, when you do those kind of solutions, then you need SMMEs to actually deploy the technology or to use the technology, which is important how we really look at it. I think if I really look back, you're so right, there's been so much more females coming also into the programs. Previously, we started off with nearly none, and now you're sitting at about 50% of participants in the program are female. We had Marlene from Slide Louvre. I can share with you some of the nice presentations and pics and videos that we have. But she's also come up with a really efficient energy solution for offices in terms of a slide loop that's solar powered. Kind of interesting how that works, yeah. And then there was another young female lady that came up with, the company's name is Semi Meat, and they came up with a solution looking at moringa trees and plants to create energy, biodiesel. So a lot of the innovations and solutions are around using what we have as natural resources to create energy solutions as well. Yes, it's so cool. And it's so amazing because I must say, I can't thank our global partners enough. They really do come on board. Some of these programs are co-funded, but the Global Clean Tech one, like I said, 4 years of global funding. And then the UK Newton funded programs are UK Newton funded by the UK. And they were very, very instrumental in saying, if you as an agency want to say this program is for female-led innovations, go ahead and do that. So 3 years ago, we had a total cohort of females only going to the UK. It was amazing. And you were able to see then the confidence in other innovators, young and upcoming innovators in the market, because it was always about females just feeling in that room and I'm one or two amongst 15 other males, all much older, all much with the innovation so much more further down the commercialization levels, that their confidence levels always just dropped. So it's quite amazing now as you up the number of females going into these programs, and it's taken us over 9 years to get there. But we're quite happy that, if you can look back at one of the successes, I must say, it's more equitable, and if I look at more youth and women in the programs, I must say it's definitely been well achieved with the government agency trying to get that right. So you really clearly can see that the playing field is starting to become pretty much leveled, which you're right. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. That, yes. So I think it's very important to know that we do look at inbound technologies, and we also do support you bringing in technologies, but then you're localizing to the South African context, or you take what's existing and you have incremental make incremental changes to that. 100% we support that. So you can really take something that exists and develop an innovation on top of that. We support that kind of innovations. So I think that's very, very important. Yeah, it's about sticking to something you believe in, and also it's about failing forward, fail fast kind of thing. We've learned that some of these innovators, I mean, they come up with some things that you never see commercialized or zero market access. They're like, where did you come up with that? It's nice to just say to them, sorry, this one ain't going to work. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't focus on another one. And what we found that with government grants, it becomes quite challenging, because if you applied for one thing and you fail, then we don't fund you again. But actually, that's the person you should fund, because they actually learned. Yeah, they've learned their lessons. I'd like to invite all our young innovators and entrepreneurs and SMMEs to join us on our Global Clean Tech Innovation Program for South Africa. You can visit our website, www.tia.org.za, for further information on the call out. Thank you.